Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's realistic review in which we are taking a look at the American F4U-4 sitting at 4.7 battle ratings. We are slowly moving up there, and this is one of the later designed Corsairs with a better engine. The 1C has about 2270 horsepower, I believe, and this one has a good 200 more. So that gives you a little bit more power, a little bit more performance. Also, this plane is a little lighter because it doesn't have 20mm guns, it has 650 cals. So I mean, it's a little bit of a downside compared to the 1C, but the performance easily makes up for it. This plane is just much better at 4.7 battle rating, even without the cannons. It's just that performance, man. Your extra speed in a straight line, just the extra performance in the vertical, energy retention and all that jazz. This Corsair is just, it feels like a super Corsair, let's say that, at this battle rating. If you get in a down tier with this plane, it just feels absolutely monstrous. And well, let's not mention that too loud, or it may go up in battle rating. But we'll see what the effect of that is, you know. Guys, this is the last review of 2022, so do make sure to give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, share, subscribe if you haven't yet, of course, and do make sure to follow me on my other socials like Rumble and Locals. I would appreciate it very much. Now, this plane at sea level without WEP goes up to 589 kilometers an hour and 622 with WEP. At 4,500 meters still go up to 511 without WEP and 540 without. And finally at 6,500 meters you can get to 488 without WEP and 509 with WEP. Now those speeds are quite good for this battle rating. She's a fast plane in a straight line, and compared to the earlier Corsairs, this is quite a step up. The top speed in a dive is still the same though. You have the 841 before she redlines and 904 before she rips apart. It is actually possible in a steep dive to rip this plane apart. Yes, I did it at 904. I came from 10,000 meters, so I needed quite a bit of altitude to wreck the plane. But yeah, I got to 904 before she ripped apart. Control stiffening is very subtle. This plane is very good in a dive. The first little tick is almost not noticeable in aileron compression, comes around 600 kilometers an hour, and the second one at 750. They're not very noticeable. The plane stays excellent in the roll rate up until very high speeds, and they only start very late in the compression. So that means that in a dive you can continue to roll and you will be able to get the guns on the target. Now with this plane there is much less rolling off center, which was a problem in the 1C and in the 1D. This plane has much less of that rolling off center. That means that the gun stays much more on the target, as you just saw here against that Spitfire. I was rolling and the gun was not pulling off the target. So there is that. It is very important that that is not a problem in this plane. And it makes it just so much better in the lower ends of the dive. No need to look at your speed, it will just keep flying straight for you, and that's great. The stall speed lies around 110 kilometers an hour, which is alright. Firepower is good. You have the 6 12.7 M2 Browning machine guns with 400 rounds per gun. Now that ammo load is excellent. 400 rounds per gun for the 50 cals is great. It can last you a long time, let's say. You can last you the whole match actually these days. What belts to use? Well, these are interesting belts because they're very high rate belts, as I said. The default belt has API tracer and then 2 times armor piercing and an incendiary shell. The universal belt has 2 API armor piercing incendiary, 1 armor piercing incendiary tracer shell and 2 incendiary shells. Then the ground belt has an API T, 2 APs, and the tracer belt has only armor piercing incendiary tracer shell and then finally the stealth belt, which has an API, incendiary. So all these rounds have much more incendiary shells in it. This is more of a late belt setup that we have here, and so every belt is basically viable, even the default belt, which has no ball ammo or anything, so that's good. And it just depends on what you want to focus on. Do you want more incendiary shells? You take maybe the universal. If you want more AP in it, you go for the ground belt. And well, I mean, for incendiary you have traces as well, it's great, and stealth for the surprise factor. But yeah, lots of fires with this plane, let's say that, lots of fires, lots of incendiary. There is several bomb loads on this Corsair as well, with which you can arm her. For ground pounding in air RB, this can be a fantastic plane. Then you have rockets in the form of 8 VAR rockets, 8 of them, also good. You can definitely take this plane into ground RB. She's very sturdy, can take a shit ton of damage with a very good durability, and so this can be a beast in more modes than just air RB. But yeah, so multifunctional, let's say. Acceleration in this plane in a straight line is very good. In a dive it's great. She has excellent energy retention, both in the horizontal and in the vertical. Climb rate is above average, maybe even decent in this one because of the extra power. She climbs a little bit better maybe than the 1C. Turn time in the plane is average, above average with flaps. Flaps rip off at around 520, which is alright, but you have to be careful even in a straight line at most altitudes, because you easily reach 520 in this plane. That's not too much of an issue. Roll rate is just great on the Corsairs, right? Very good to great. Absolutely a plane that can roll, and against most planes you will be able to outroll them, that's for sure, especially in the lower ends of the dives. With that late compression coming in, that is just great. I mean, I can guarantee you that it only compresses after most other planes, so you will be able to outroll them for sure. Overall maneuverability is decent to good. Overheating is quite bad actually. It does overheat at 100% even, but it's manageable. It's manageable. She cools off fairly quickly, and I have to say, although she does overheat, if you don't pay it any mind, if you pay half attention to it, it is not too much of a problem, because it cools off that quickly. So there is that. Durability is very good. It can soak a lot of damage. It can take, I mean, the Corsairs are known for that, built for sturdiness, let's say, and they won't let you down so easily. I wanted to include this footage because I got damage on the engine here, and the plane just kept flying. You will see, but I will cross much terrain. I will be in several more engagements here where the engine just continues to function, and it's just absolutely great, the durability that this plane has, at least in the engine, but also in the wings. I found that this plane is very sturdy. The repair cost of this plane lies at 3,212 Silver Lions, which is very good actually compared to his compadres at 4.7. Many planes are higher, most planes actually, so yeah, it's a low repair cost. Then we move on to rewards. The research point multiplier is 308%, and the Silver Lion multiplier is 195%. Then we have a modifier there of 1.54, and on the Silver Lions 1.3. Now overall that gives you a research point rewards on this plane that is slightly below average, and the Silver Lion one is closer to bad actually, I have to say that. It's not a great earner, but with the very low repair cost you can still get good rewards out of this plane for the research, let's say. For Silver Lions it's not great, but again she performs very well at a 4.7 battle rating. It has much better performance than the 1C, for example, and at her own battle rating, down tiers is just monstrous, and it's very good at in up tiers still. So for example, it looks very much like the 1B, which is the same plane more or less with or sorry, not the 1B, the 4B. and it sits, that one sits at I believe it is 6.0 at the moment, so that's much higher, and that plane has cannons, so that's what Gaijin does, right, with cannons compared to 50 cals. There's some huge differences out there when it comes to battle rating that way, but this plane performs the same way as that 6.0 plane in the engine power and stuff like that. It just has cannons, that thing. But this one sits at a very nice battle rating. Or maybe the 4B sits at a way too high battle rating. We could also make that conclusion, but from the performance that I got in this plane, I would say that this sits at a very, very convenient and nice battle rating for this plane. And yeah, it makes it more enjoyable, I would say, in some situations, especially for people who are still learning the American line or are newer to Corsairs. And although you would have visited the early ones, I would have recommended to you anyway, but the Corsairs are fantastic. But this one is excellent one at a very nice battle rating. So yeah, this plane can also does close air support with the bombs and the rockets, and the 50 cals coming from above. You can hit many targets as well, as I've heard from some of the guys. So because I don't play ground RB, right? You know, I don't play tanks, but yeah. So bombs, rockets, close air supports you can do. Boom and zooming, excellent, especially with the less rolling off center that this plane has. Very, very awesome. You can just keep the guns on target much easier than in the earlier Corsairs, which often have quite bad rolling off center in the lower ends of the dive. This one doesn't have that, so that's great. Great boom and zoomer. And of course he is also an energy fighter, so he can do that very well, especially with this engine power, which is just quite good. Very enjoyable to fly this Corsair, I have to say. Goes for all the Corsairs actually. It's they are great, and with that roll rate, that you just don't turn fight very well. That's something you got to keep in mind. If you go for pure turn time, sustained turn fight, then you can forget about it against many planes. Although at high speeds she might pull a couple of nice turns, but nothing against any kind of dedicated or semi-dedicated turn fighter. This plane can handle herself against other boom and zoomers and stuff like that, but not against the Spitfire, for example. Even though some of the later Spitfires are not necessarily turn fighters either, they are more energy fighters, but they're still usually turn better than this Corsair. But the roll rate, man, the roll rate is fantastic. Overshooting, defensive flying, reversals. This plane is absolutely a star at that. Makes it very fun to fly, and it has enough elevator to make it count as well. So yeah, I would definitely say if you like the Corsairs, you should definitely not miss this one. Definitely not. Now we're at the end of this match, so we're gonna look at the scoreboard for a sec here, see what we got for that 4-kill match that we got earlier. We've got the best final blow, actually, Terror of the Sky, bulletproof, 46,000 Silver Lions and 6,400 research points. First place in the team. I'll see you in the conclusion. Hey guys, so here we are after the match. For the F4U-4, fantastic later game Corsair, which has also the later game belts with a lot of incendiary in there. They're loaded with incendiary except for the ground belt. On pretty much every round has incendiary in there. Default though has AP as well, so that's almost similar to the ground belt there. But as for fires, in the universal belt, the tracer belt and the stealth belt, you have like incendiary in every shell, which is just a fire feast basically in this plane. Now these days in age, of course, this day in age I should say, people don't respect the fires anymore. They don't wait until they go out, so fires can be stolen from you. But yeah, well, you still get a lot of fire, so it helps in many situations. For the rest, great speed on this plane, very fast, late compression in it, so the control stiffening is very nice in this plane. Decent firepower with the 650 cals, with a great ammo load, 400 rounds per gun. She has great performance with a good engine and great roll rate. Durability is great. The repair cost is good. There is so much to go for this plane. She has bombs, she has rockets. You can take her into ground RB as a close air support, boom and zoom with her, energy fight. This plane has a lot to offer, is a great, to my taste at least, and I can definitely recommend her. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.